Okay, so in this video, I'm gonna show you how APY works and what APY stands for and means and how to derive the formula and how to work with it. So right here I have the web page to discover CDs. So if you see right here, it says that if you invest money for 12 months, you're going to get an APY of 4.85% on the money that you invest. Now, some companies like Discover, for example, have a minimum investment amount. For Discover is $2,500. For Chase, I believe is $2,500. I mean, $25,000. And some other ones like American Express or Capital One don't have a minimum deposit, so you can deposit as little as you can and obviously as much as you can too. So let me explain to you what APY means just really quick. So the reason why APY is given is so that regardless of the initial deposit, I mean, I have here 2,500 already noted, but it doesn't matter what amount you put in here, as long as you keep it for 12 months or 1 year, you get in 4.85% on that amount. And so that's easily, readily visible. So let's go to, say, American Express and also look at 12 months, which is 1 year. We see that the APY is different. Essentially, I'm not comparing APYs to say which one is better, but rather I want to show you how the APY works. So in this case, you can see that it's very visible that if you were to invest, let's say, let's go with $10,000. So you invested on a CD with American Express for 1 year. At the end of that year, you're going to get 4.75% on that investment, which comes out to $475 interest earned. And so that is the APY, because it is saying that at the end of 1 year, you will have your initial investment increased by the 4.75% interest. Now, the interesting question here comes. We have a calculator here where I can change the terms, like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and it will tell me automatically how much interest I will get if I invest $10,000. But the APY say if you invest for 5 years, it's only 3%. Now, if you have a calculator like this one, it's easy to calculate. But if you don't have it, it's kind of difficult. You can only straightforward see it if you compute it for 1 year, no problem. Because you will say, okay, 4.75% of 10,000 is 475. That's easily computed. However, if you go for a different term, like 60 months, and by the way, you can also go down to say 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, it's not going to be easily or straightforward computed. You have to calculate it. But anyways, we get into that right now. So anyways, if you were to see this, okay, I'm going to invest $10,000 for 60 months, APY is 3%. How do I calculate it, right? Because if you say, well, I'm going to multiply 3% by 10,000, no, you're not going to get this amount because 3% of 10,000 is $300. And so you can say, well, yeah, so I just multiply it times 5 because every year I'm getting 3%. Well, you're not going to get the correct answer. You're going to get an approximation, okay? So you say every year I get 3% because that's the APY. So in 5 years, anyway, I get 15%, 15%. 15% of 10,000 will be 1,500. And as you can see, it's almost 1,600. So it was not exact. However, in the 12 month, it is exact because that is by definition APY, annual percent yield. Annual means in 1 year how much you get, how much it is yield. So in here you will have no problem, straightforward computing. But anyways, let's get into the math of this. Let me make some room here. Okay. So essentially what it is that you invest an amount of money, P, and then after some period of time, you can have this amount. I made another video before where I explained this formula, but I'm going to do a little recap on this. So the initial investment P, it increased by this amount after T years. So in other words, but let's focus in 1 year for now. So you have an initial investment of P dollars, and after 1 year, you are going to have this amount in the bank or in the CD, if you want to think of it that way. So in this case, the T was equals to 1 year because we want to see what the APY means. And so essentially, if you want to find out how much money you made, you will subtract this amount from this amount, the initial investment. So you subtract your final amount from the initial investment. So you have P, which is the amount with the interest added to it in 1 year, minus your initial investment. And what is that equals to? That is equals to, we can factor out the P, 1 plus R over N to the N minus 1. Okay, that's simple enough. Now, here, the way this formula right here was derived, it implies that what's inside the parentheses, including the exponent, is the interest. In other words, this right here, inside the brackets, is the interest of P. And so when we want to find out what the annual percent yield is, we are interested on the interest only. So this is annual, means 1 year, or annually, yearly, percent yield, how much you're given in 1 year. And so we only concern about the percentage. That's what the P stands for in that acronym APY. And so in other words, essentially we can say that the APY is this. I'm going to explain to you. Now, regardless of the investment, the interest would just be this. And that's what the APY wants. That's what the yield will be. So we can actually don't consider the P at all, even though the P is still there, because I'm going to tell you why. So we say APY is just the interest, right? It's the interest right here. It's in the wording. So we just want 1 plus R over N to the N minus 1. Why is that? Because when this formula was derived, this formula just here on the side, this is the interest. it's in the formula. So anyways, this one can also be used as the definition of the APY, even though if you look for the formula or somebody else gives you the formula, they will say that this is the formula. But essentially, when we talk about interest, is like a broken or truncated statement. We need to know interest of what. If I say you're going to get 5% interest, the first question that should come to your mind is 5% interest of what? There's an assumption in there, and the assumption is the investment amount, which would be P, and that's this P right here. But like I said, if we go back to the CDs, the rates, let's say capital one, or okay, is that capital one? Oh yeah, it is. So like in here on this row, 12 months, 4.85%. Right away, the question is 5.85% of what? It is assumed that it is of the investment, in this case of $1,000. In other words, 4.5% of P. It can just be 4.85% because a percentage is a fraction of what? You need to fill that blank, and that blank in this case is $1,000. Oh, and this $1,000 represents P. I hope I'm not confusing you here. All I'm saying is that what is it? They both correct. However, this formula right here and this one here are correct, except that this one has the P already in because it assumes the P. I'm sorry, it has, on this one, it assumes that you know the P. Anyways, not to get confused. So you can choose either one as long as you know what you're talking about. So anyways, like I said, if we go back to the CDs again, let's assume this one for Discover. You want to invest 10 years. So obviously here, let's say $10,000. There's a calculator here, right? Okay. Okay, so $10,000. The APY is for 1 year 4.85, which easily calculated straightforward. I just multiply 10,000 times 4.85%, and I get the amount of 485. But if you want to know how much you will get in 10 years, of course the APY is going to change now. But like from here, you can see you just multiply the initial investment times the APY, and you obtain the interest earned. But if you do that for 10 years, it doesn't work that way. If you say, well, I'm going to multiply 10,000 times the APY, obviously you consider, okay, that's in 1 year, just based on this, if you try to work the logic, which by the way is going to be wrong. If you say, well, I multiply 10,000 times 3.80, I should get $380, right? 380. And of course, over 10 years, I just multiply times 10. So it should be $3,800. And you can see that 3,800 falls short of 4,520. So it's off. Anyways, what was I gonna say? But how do you calculate that? How do you calculate how much money you're gonna get in 10 years, or less in 9 months, 6 months, 3 months? Because see, look at 3 months. Okay, 3 months. So if you have $10,000, the APY is 2% now. And so you might think logically that you multiply 10,000 times 2%, and then that will give you how much you will get in 1 year. Let's go with 1,000. Oh, no, you can't, because the minimum is 2,500. Look, it's going to say the minimum deposit should be 2,500 with Discover. What I'm trying to show you here actually is let's go back. Okay, before we answer that question fully. Okay. So what's happening here? Okay, we're going to say the APY is this formula. 1 plus R over N to the N minus 1. We already derived this formula earlier up here when I was talking about it. All it is essentially, think about it. If you have $100 and you, after 1 year, you have, say, $105, then you know your investment increased by $5. And how do you find that out? You just write down your final amount, $105, and subtract your initial investment, and you end up with $5, which is 5% off your initial investment. In other words, you subtracted your total from your initial, and that's how the formula came in. Anyways, they say APY is 5%. What does that mean? Well, that means that in 1 year, like in this example right here, you will get 5%. But there's something else going on here, and that something else has to do with the number of times that the investment is compounded. That's where the little n comes into play, because usually banks, and as a matter of fact, American Express says it right there. American Express, if you read the terms, subscriptions, and as a matter of fact, too, Capital One, it's even right here, 360. This 360 up here means that they compound daily, where 1 month is 30 days. So in 1 year, there are 360 compoundings. Where is it? Somewhere in here. But all I wanted to show you here is that it depends on how often it is compounded. Anyways, think about this. If you have $100, okay, and that $100 is compounded once at 20% annually, so this is your $100, you know that at the end of 1 year, you're going to have your initial investment of $100 plus interest added to that of 20%, 20% of 100. What is that equals to? That's your initial investment of $100 plus $20, which is just 120. Whereas if you, same scenario, but now you compound twice just to see the effect of $100 compounded twice. So the first time you compound, say 6 months later, now you have your initial investment plus 10% of $100. That will be 100 plus $10, which is 110. I don't want to lose you here. All I'm doing is, here we compounded once 20%, and here we want to compound twice 10%, and we want to compare results. So now you have in the bank after 6 months $110. So now those $110 plus 10% of those $110, now you're going to have 110 plus $11, which is $121. So if you compare, right here you have 121, and right here you have 120. So if you compound once 20% versus you compound twice 10%, the more, what I'm trying to show here is that the more you compound, the more it increases your investment. There's a limit to that, but anyways, at least it shows that the more times you compound, see here I compounded twice, I get $121 total. Whereas over here I just compounded once, I get 120. Clearly 121 is greater than 120. Here I compounded twice, 10%, and here we just compounded once, 20%. So anyways, let's go back to the APY again. So this little n in this example right here represents, and this example represents 20, is the interest, annual interest 20%, and in this example is 10% compounded twice. Here, let's go to the next page. Let me show you what's going on here, what's up with that. So when they say, let's go, let's work a real example. Let's work with Discover, and let's say the minimum you deposit $2,500, which is the minimum you can deposit with them, and you put it in, okay, 3 months, that's fine, 3 months. Let's see we can come out with that. So that's 2% APY. Okay. This, you can work this out if you want so that you get hands-on training here. So it is saying that the APY is 2%, which we know the formula is 1 plus R over N, everything to the N minus 1. That's the formula. Now, we assume that N is 360, meaning it is compounded 360 times in 1 year. We don't know the interest. We don't know R. We want to find out R. Because if we know R, then we can find out how much you will get in 3 months. Because remember, this 2% is for 1 year. If you were to keep your money in the bank for 1 year, you will get 2%. But if you were to keep it in the bank for 3 months, then you have to find out what R is and compute it for 3 months. So this is what goes in my mind. If you want, so this is 1 year. We're going to solve this one. This line segment represents 1 year. And so the year is broken down into segments of equal length. And whatever the interest rate is, we're going to divide it by the number of segments that we have here. Let's say we have n segments. I know n is 360, but we divide in 1 year. This line is 1 year into n segments. And each segment is going to contain a little bit of R. And because they are equals in length, so we divide by n, which is essentially R over n. Right? The interest rate R is divided into n segments. So this is going to have R over n. This little segment is going to have R over n. Every little segment is going to have R over n. So I'm just telling you what goes through my mind. But in this case, we know because we're assuming it's 360 segments in 1 year. So we have here 2% is equals to 1 plus, we don't know R, but we do know the number of segments that year was broken into, which is 360 to the 360 if you want to substitute it. So we just, this formula is this one. And of course, 2% is nothing more than a decimal, right? So that is 0.02 equals to 1 plus R over 360. We're doing baby steps here, so we can keep track of where everything goes and comes from. We add 1 to both sides of the equality, so it becomes 1.02 equals to just the parenthesis by itself because we get rid of the 1. I got rid of the 1 here because I added 1 on this side and I added 1 on this side. So anyways, now we can take the radical with index 360. That would mean right? I apply it to both sides, and so I get rid of the exponent. Just have the parenthesis by itself. So now I can subtract 1 from both sides. So it becomes 1.02, obviously 360 minus 1 equals r over 360. Get rid of that denominator. I'll multiply everything by 360. So it becomes 360 multiply 1.02 minus 1 is equals to r. So obviously I need a calculator here. In 1 second, let me find out what this is with my calculator. It'll be 360 times, open parentheses, radical, index 360, 1.02 minus 1, then multiply times 100. So we have R is equals to 1.98%, which, by the way, is almost equals to the APY 2%, right? It is almost equals, but it's not the same. And with this little amounts, it doesn't matter, but as you know, it does matter with larger amounts. So we can calculate now exactly how much money you are going to get in 3 months with this new interest. And by the way, they have different names, like the APY. You know, the APY is actually called the effective rate. It doesn't matter what they call them, I guess, as long as you know what you're doing. And this could be called the annual rate or the nominal rate. So anyways, of course, I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to do, because as we were saying earlier, if you use the APY only works when you use 1 year. But if you lose something less than a year, like 3 months, you can approximate it with that 2%, but you're going to be off. But if you want the exact amount, you will have to do this equation and solve for R, and now do it for 3 months. And you will get the exact amount of money that you're going to get for your investment. Why would you do that? Well, I'm just showing you how it works. So now we have R, and so we can say, okay, I'm going to invest $2,500, right, at 1.98%, the nominal rate now, divided by 360. 2, how many times are you going to compound? You know, remember what we did earlier, that this line was a year, and it was divided into 360 intervals of equals length. But 3 months, I mean, there will be 360 such intervals in 1 year. 1 year. There will be 300 segments. But 3 months, the reason why banks use 360 as a year, they say that 1 year is equals to 360 days, is because now they can say, you know what, they can get rid of, say, February. They can treat February and January as equal that they have the same number of days, because we know February has fewer days than January. But by doing this, the banks don't have to deal with that, because at the end of every month they pay you a dividend, and so they don't want to. They want the dividends to be consistent at the end of every year. They don't have to, calculate. Say, well, now the fewer days in February, so you get less money. Point is, we only won 3 months, right? 3 months. And we said already that every month is 30 days. So clearly this is 90 days, right? It's 90 days. And that would be 90 compoundings. So we can actually have the exponent here as 90. Because you compound the first day, you compound the second day, so and so forth until you get to 90 day, which will be the third month. Okay, and just in case too, for those of you who like to plug and chuck and without thinking, this is just another way to get it. It will be 1.98 divided by 360 to the n, which is 360 years. How many years is 3 months? Is 1/4. So that'll be 1/4 of a year if you want to represent it in years. And you know that just that exponent is 90, which is the same as the one we have up here. Anyways, I just hope you understand the exponent is just the number of compoundings that we do. We do 90 compoundings because it's 3 months. If you were to do 360 compoundings, it would be 1 year. Not a biggie, right? Okay, so anyways, let's proceed. Again, I will need a calculator because we're trying to get the value, say, for this, which is the same as the one underneath. Let's see what that be equals to. I have $2,500 times to the 90. 1 plus fraction was down 0.0198 divided by 360. Okay, so that is equals to $2,512, and obviously some cents. I'm approximated. By the way, usually, at least with the calculators, okay, the banks, they get rid of decimals. They approximate to the next dollar. So they'll say that the amount is 2,512. But in reality, they wouldn't do that. They would actually go down to the cents. Just saying. So if you go down to the American Express, you can see they said that the interest earned is $12. And so you go back to our calculations here, and you can see already. So you subtract from this final amount, you subtract your initial deposit of $2,500, and you will get a difference of $12. Technically speaking, there, because we approximated here, there should be some cents in there. There should be decimal 41. But anyways, it's off by 41 cents. The calculation that we did here in pencil and the calculation that's done here with the computer is off by 41 cents. And if you were to, in reality, invest this amount of money with Discover, I know that you're going to get the cents come into play. They don't approximate it to the next dollar, okay? And they have some fine print where they say this is just for illustration purposes. Because they don't want to bog down with decimals and stuff, because it's annoying, I guess. But anyways, so that's for 10 years. I think we are. I think I already explained what APY means. So just a recap. Like we did here, final with interest plus minus initial investment. That would be this. This is the final. Obviously, in 1 year, T is equals 1. So minus initial investment P, you have P parenthesis 1 plus R over N to the N minus 1. And of course, this is the percentage of interest. Why is that? Because it comes from the derivation of P, the compounding formula. I apologize. Anyways, that's what APY means and stands for. We can do more examples, but my roosters are starting to sing, and so I gotta cut it short. So let's call it a day for now, but I'll make another video because I like this stuff.